Hey, this is Quentin, and I am very glad that you guys decided to click on my video. This is going to be me telling you about my first year as an indie game developer. Now, this isn't going to be some perfect, movie type of journey where I learned I learned C# in a couple months, and I was able to complete this video game within a year. No, that's not the reality, especially for a lot of people who want to build their own video games. So please listen and listen carefully, especially if you are someone who is new. Now, my game engine of choice was Unity. The reason why I picked Unity, I didn't know anything about Unreal Engine. When I first started to build games, I originally had someone build my first mobile app game, and I didn't hear about Unreal Engine. I was always hearing people say how to build something in Unity, how to build a 2D game in Unity, how to build, a 3D game in Unity. I really didn't know about Unreal Engine or Godot or any of this when I first started. So I just took it upon myself to say, hey, okay, Unity, that's a pretty cool game engine that everyone talks about. Let me see if I can do it with Unity. So around January of 2023, I took it upon myself to say, you know what? Every day I'm going to do something to get better at game dev. Now, sounds good when you have a wife, when you have friends, family. It's pretty difficult to really maintain and be focused the time that you need to really learn how to do game dev. And what I'm saying is, there's going to be times where you're going to have to spend 10 hours, sometimes 5, 6, 7 hours as soon as you get home from work, because it's not a full-time job until you start making money. So you're going to need to spend hours learning how to write C# code, learning how to do different things in Unity. And unless you just have a lot of time on your hand, unless you're maybe a high school kid or you're unemployed, it's going to be hard for you to do everything in one day or in 1 year. So my journey, January 2023, I started to purchase a lot of game dev courses on the popular website Udemy. Now, my career, I am an industrial engineer, so I was able to spend a lot of money on these courses. I'm not sure if everyone can do that. It's not always the best option. I mean, you can learn on YouTube as well, but me just having spare cash to spend, I went on Udemy and I bought a lot of courses on, Unity game dev for beginners, how to build an RPG, different things like that. So at this moment, I really didn't want to go through the whole process of learning the baby steps of game programming and, everything about Unity. I just wanted to learn enough so that I can build the video game that I had in my mind. Now, before I go into that, which is game dev, I wanted to at least, which I think I forgot, but I want to at least go into the reason why I started game dev. The reason why I started game dev was because I always had ideas on how could I make a game similar to Grand Theft Auto, Far Cry, or Watch Dogs. And a lot of people who are new to game dev, they have this dream game in their mind that they want to create, not knowing that it takes people years, it takes teams to develop these games that we like to play that are super big AAA games. And I remember I had the passion to say, you know what, I want to build a game that is based in Africa. Whenever I see games, it's based on Vikings, it's based in the US, it's kind of set in the Middle East. or, I never seen a game, besides Modern Warfare, where it only specifically focused on the warfare part of Africa, but I never really seen a game, an open world game, where it was more of, putting you in the shoes of a person that's living day to day in Africa and the experiences that they have to go through. So that was one of the main drivers that made me want to develop this game. All right. Now that I told you the reason why I wanted to develop this game, let me finish the story. So, I was so ambitious. I wanted to get this game done within a year. I remember telling my wife, hey, I'm going to code the game. I'm going to write the storyline. I'm going to, do the artwork. I'm going to use 3D Blender modeling and make the characters and animate them. I was just super ambitious, and now that I look back at it, it was very foolish. I don't think, unless you just have a lot of time on your hand, you can't do all of that in 1 year. But, you just being new, this is some of the thoughts that you may have. I remember going to listen to a lot of people like Code Monkey, and, he would make videos on, how to make a game in 2023, or, game developer beginner tips. And, he would always say, don't try to build your dream game first. Always try to build these small games and, learn as much as you can. And then as you get better at it, sooner or later, one of these days, I don't know, maybe 5-10 years from now, that's when you will really be able to build your dream game. Well, I'm a very impatient person. I feel like you should either go big or go home. That's not the best idea, but that's just how I thought about it. So I say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to build a lot of small games. I don't want to do that, right? I want to make something like Grand Theft Auto. I want to make something like freaking Red Dead Redemption, dude. Why would I want to spend all my time building something that I really don't care to build? That was my way of thinking. But I should have took that advice, because now I see what he mean. When I first started, and I started to come home every single day from work, I would open up my MacBook, I would turn on one of the Udemy courses, and I would, step by step, do exactly what the instructors would tell me to do. Now, if you're thinking as far as I just gotta get this done so that I can make my video game, then you're not gonna really digest what those instructors are telling you to do. What I'm saying is, they're going to explain to you what methods are, what the start and update is, what the awake method is, what scriptable objects are. But, if you're just in a hurry like I was, you're just going to copy and paste whatever they're writing for their video game, and you're going to just copy it. You're not really going to digest it. And with that being said, once that course is over, because you may complete the course because you've just copied and pasted everything. But when it's time for you to apply that knowledge or do it again, you're not going to fully understand it because you never digest what they were telling you to do. So that was my first mistake as a game dev beginner, was copying and pasting code instead of really digesting the knowledge. Instead of running through the courses, instead of, I'm just going to knock out one course and keep practicing on this one course. No, I would knock out course 1, course 2, course 3 within, a week or two, just to say that I completed the course. And, with this fake sense of, now I'm a game developer. But in reality, I would need to copy and paste code every single time for me to actually have something complete. So that was my first mistake. And, I think that's what a lot of people do. And that's why they quit game dev, or they think that it's too hard. because they just want to copy and paste instead of really digesting the knowledge. Trying to build small stuff with the knowledge that they have is going to always be more beneficial than just running through a course. Then, my second big mistake is just buying so many assets on Unity Asset Store that I really didn't need. I look back now, I bought a lot of assets that were outdated. I really never looked at the overview of what these assets could do. I just seen a lot of the videos and I just went ahead and purchased them. And some of these assets were pretty expensive. You know, I remember spending 70, 80, $100 on assets that I don't even use today. But, you know, just me trying to rush the process and trying to get something out, you know, so soon and so quick, I would see where, you know, it was hurting me more than really helping me. So, number 2, do not buy a lot of assets when you're learning game dev, especially if they're super expensive, right? You know, sometimes Unity Asset Store, they have sales where it's something that's $50, maybe $30. Sometimes the assets that you really want to use just to try it out are free, but you always want to try to spend as least as you can, especially when it's your first year of game dev. That's another big thing that I learned. Another thing that I learned was you got to give yourself some time. You got to give yourself time to sleep, give your time to enjoy with your friends and your family, because you can become so obsessed with game dev that you may end up in the house for hours at a time. And I remember when I first started, I would be in my front room on my MacBook for 10, 11 hours straight. And, you know, the year, it went by so quick. You know, the weeks and the days, it would go by so fast. And I look back at it, and it wasn't really anything that showed progression in the video game. It was just me trying to rush through, trying to speed up, trying to solve errors, really not understanding how C# programming languages work. And sometimes it gave me a little depression, a little anxiety. And you don't want to do that. You know, a lot of times your friends may call to hang out, and you're just so laser focused on, hey, I gotta get this done. But you gotta think about it. Is this game really gonna make or break you? Is this game gonna be something that's really gonna be successful, especially your first game, right? A lot of times it's not. And so you wanna spend as much time as you can with your friends and your family to just balance out that game dev life with your friends in real life. And if you're like me, you're going to try to take shortcuts. I remember I first discovered Unity Playmaker, which was a pretty cool asset. It was something where if you weren't a technical person, if you wanted to go ahead and build your video game, they had this visual scripting tool. And all you would need to do was just drag and drop these Finette state machines. Or I'm just going to say FSM. I'm pretty sure you guys can look up Playmaker FSM. But FSMs, they were pretty cool, right? I mean, all you had to do, you didn't have to really remember the syntax. You could just, you know, make these little blocks and, you know, connect them, and the functionality would work in sequence and different things like that. And it was cool until you get to more complex parts of the video game that you want to make, and stuff really don't work the way you want it to work. And this is where it becomes an issue. And so you may see yourself like, oh man, dang, it would be so much easier if I wrote this in code versus me using this FSM, because now it looks like a bunch of spaghetti strings, and now I'm pretty confused on where this go, where that goes. So I didn't really get that until towards the end, once I started to build these systems and the more complex they became, I became more confused with what I made. And just like I was doing in the first beginning of the year, I was just copying and pasting what a person on YouTube was doing, which is not good. So, the ugly part of it, right? I would get so far, but by me copying and pasting what I was writing, I really didn't understand the code. And what I would do, out of just pure frustration, I would delete the game. I would delete the project, write it over again, look for another YouTuber, try to follow his way. When I wanted to add something of my own, I didn't understand it, I would delete it again, delete it again, delete it again. But over time, you started to understand some of the fundamentals of C#, especially if you see it so many times, right? You know, unless you're just smoking pot and you have a bad memory, some of the syntax will start making sense to you. Some of the logic will start making sense to you, right? So I would be able to not necessarily write it, but I would be able to understand what was going on. And that was when I said, hey, I'm actually starting to get it. Now, this wasn't, March. No, this was like freaking July, a few months into actually programming. This wasn't something that I learned right away. And I still have a lot to learn. But the main thing that I can tell you all, especially if you're pretty new to the process, is to keep learning. Now, you have to balance that out with your friends and your family, but keep learning. And another thing, if you can, hire you a tutor, hire you an expert to help you develop the game, because you don't want to spend weeks and weeks and weeks, especially if you were like me, who's pretty ambitious. I don't like to spend too much time on one problem, especially if I can't figure it out. I like to go and get help. And that's what I would give as far as advice to you guys. If you guys can spare $100 or $200 to have someone kind of help you solve a problem that you're trying to figure out in your software, in your game, then do that, because it's going to save you a lot of stress. It's going to save you from where you're staying up all night trying to figure it out, and it's going to make you feel like you accomplished something. So throughout the rest of this year and next year, I'm going to continue to upload monthly vlogs on the progress of my video game, Concrete Jungle. Now that I've told you my first year's journey, I'm going to document my second year and my third year. And hopefully my third year, I can have this video game fully completed. I can let you guys play it on Steam and on PlayStation and on Xbox. I'm just going to show you guys that you can do it. But I want you guys to learn from my mistakes so that you can become successful without wasting so much time like I did. The next couple things that I'm going to start adding to the video game Concrete Jungle is a money system, is a shop system. So if the player earns money, he can go to the shops and buy different spells for voodoo. He can purchase different guns. A lot of this stuff is going to be in the game. And the next video that I make, I'm going to tell you guys some of the main features that I want to put into the game. And I want you guys' feedback to let me know, what's cool, what's not cool, some of your suggestions. And I want to be able to work with you guys so that I can build a game that not only I like, but something that you guys like as well. So I'm glad that some of you guys were able to stay to the end, and hopefully this video of my 1 year journey was helpful, and I will talk to you all soon.